What is up, guys? It's your boy, Big Is, and welcome to my Super Bowl 60 prediction video. In this video today, I'm going to be talking about what is my prediction of who's going to be winning Super Bowl 60. But before we get into that prediction video, I will go into a little bit in depth of both the Seattle Seahawks and the New England Patriots. So to see how you already know how their seasons both ended up, how did they get here and all that stuff? How well did they play compared to where they played from a year ago? I'm going to definitely go into depth of my thoughts and opinions on all of it. And I'm taking you guys in depth from this video. So before we get right into this video, I do want to mention that I am still working on the other content videos I'll be working on. I know there's so many trailers, and I know there was a new Godzilla Season 2 official trailer that I'm also working on as well, but I still got to do the Marvel Daredevil stuff, Star Wars for the Dark Mole stuff, a Yoshi trailer from the Super Mario Bros. Film, as well as the Supergirl one, Wicked Late. But like I said, I'm new to this. I'm not used to doing this content. I'm more used to doing gameplay content. I will get to it. Just give me time. It's only a daily thing. I can't get everything out one way because I'm only one person doing all the videos and edit them. So I just want to let you guys know on that. So before we get right into this video, if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and turn on the notification bell to stay notified for all of my latest review updates. Without further ado, let's get right into this video, shall we? The first thing I want to talk about, both teams, the Seattle Seahawks and the New England Patriots. Just a year ago, both teams were not even in the playoffs, let alone being considered for a playoff contention. As we all know, that the Seattle Seahawks, on their side, they moved on from Pete Carroll after Pete Carroll spent a couple of years being their president of football operations for the squad after Pete Carroll's first retirement of being the head coach of the Seattle Seahawks, because I know Seahawk fans will know that the Seattle Seahawks days under Pete Carroll was the Legion of Boom. The Legion of Boom, and as well as Russell Wilson as your quarterback, and then you had Beast Mode himself, Marshawn Lynch. Those were the days under Pete Carroll, who led the Seahawks to 2 Super Bowls and only won 1 Super Bowl out of the 2 appearances when he was the head coach of the Seattle Seahawks. But of course, ever since then, the Seahawks really haven't been the same, up to the point when Pete Carroll, you already know Pete Carroll retired, became football operations, the president of the franchise, and that's when they brought in a new head coach, a young head coach that I'm trying to figure out his name because I don't remember it at the top of my head. While I'm speaking to you guys, this new coach has definitely turned this franchise literally around. Oh, yep, here it is. Mike Macdonald. Mike Macdonald, who became the new head coach after he was known as a defensive coordinator to the Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore, came into this franchise. And of course, just his second season into this franchise, he literally turned things around for the Seattle Seahawks. He literally turned things around, even though he just started last season. Last season, they didn't make the playoffs, but it did show something from Seattle's side of things, how they were building their football team. And Mike Macdonald, I almost say McConnell. Mike Macdonald has literally changed things around. He definitely changed things around, and this is only his second year, winning his first NFC Conference Championship game as a head coach, and now he's in his first Super Bowl as a head coach in his young career as a head coach. While on Mike Vrabel's side of things, who already had coaching experience on the Patriots side of things, Mike Vrabel was already a head coach before in Tennessee. If you remember, he led the Tennessee Titans to an AFC Championship game that ultimately resulted into losing to the Kansas City Chiefs, the Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. As well as, you already know, Vrabel lasted another good couple more years until he ended up getting let go from Tennessee, who ended up being a Cleveland Browns consultant last season, and now he's the new head coach of the New England Patriots. And just his first year in New England, if you already saw my NFL honors video, he became head coach of the year for the second time, I think, in his career, because he did win a coach of the year before in Tennessee. So this is the second time he won the award. First time as the New England England Patriots head coach. But yeah, Mike Macdonald on the Seattle Seahawks side of things, he definitely has a well-built team, and he literally made his structure work in Seattle. Looks like the organization as a whole did everything in their power to make sure their coaching staff can succeed, and they did a good job on that. Even on the Patriots side of things, Robert Kraft did the right call of letting go Jerome Mayo after his short stint as the head coach of the New England Patriots, because we went 4-13 last season, because last season was a terrible one. In my mind, if Jerome Mayo, I was about to say Jared Goff, but not Jared Goff, but Jerome Mayo, if he had lost that last game of the regular season, that probably would have been a slight chance to probably still had him as a head coach. But then again, the con is that maybe if Jerome Mayo was still head coach and he still had his coaching staff, there was no way that the New England Patriots would have been playing in the Super Bowl this year. But good thing, I think it was a blessing in disguise, because since Jerome Mayo literally won that last game, man, it was a blessing in disguise, because we all knew that the Kraft family wanted Mike Vrabel to be their head coach, and my goodness, it paid off in the biggest way. Because after those last couple of years without Brady and having Bill Belichick as our head coach, it wasn't working, besides one playoff appearance with a rookie Mac Jones at the time in the 2021 NFL season. But since then, Mike Vrabel comes right in, has his own coaching staff, and they did a great job. And I know Terrell Williams, for example, who was going to call defensive plays for the New England Patriots. Of course, he didn't really get a chance to, because unfortunately he came down with cancer, and my hearts and thoughts and prayers are going out to Williams' family. So hopefully Terrell Williams' family, so hopefully that he can beat that cancer, and hopefully next season, fingers crossed, if he comes back and actually do become the defensive coordinator. But Buer, I think it's Zach Buer, I can't pronounce that last name. He is overall stepping in for Terrell Williams, has done a great job calling those defensive plays. Bringing back Josh McDaniels for a third stint shows why Josh McDaniels is literally one of the greatest offensive coordinators in the game, which we all know his head coaching resume, and it doesn't really help him after his first failed attempt back in the early 2010s as the Denver Broncos head coach, and then of course a couple years ago as the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders, which that didn't really work out anything either for Josh McDaniels. But all I'm saying is Mike Vrabel built a wonderful coaching staff that we thought that we were just scratching the surface of coming back into becoming a contending team. But the way we played this year, my lord, oh my goodness, it was mental how we came right back into it. The good thing about both these teams is that both of them have good coaching staffs, and they both have very good, well-built teams. And I do believe these two teams is going to come down to the wire, which I will say my final prediction, who I'm choosing, and what's the final score going to be a little bit later on, because their teams are well-built. Both sides have an offense. Both sides have a defense. The only difference is I did notice from the NFC Championship game is that Seattle definitely can score the ball, and they definitely have some pretty damn good receivers. Don't get me wrong, that would get me a little nervous if you ask me. And they have made some connection plays compared to us, but the New England Patriots couldn't really done that much connection plays, because I know the last two games we had those terrible snowstorms. I said we played one here in New England way before we had a terrible snowstorm here in New England, and then the other was in Denver, and then of course that snow came out of nowhere in Denver. How that changed the game completely in that AFC Championship game almost 2 weeks ago. But I don't know, anything can happen. I did grow up learning that anything can happen in sports, so anything can still happen. But right now, I will definitely say my first thought on this is that Seattle does have the upper advantage when it comes to their offense. Now, my second opinion on this is, of course, the defensive side of the football. A lot of people, of course, are sleeping on the New England Patriots defense. I've been watching the mainstream media. I've been seeing different sports shows. Almost each one of them are definitely either mixed or sleeping on the New England Patriots defense as a whole, because I feel like most people in the sports casting world don't really see the Patriots as a big threat when it comes to defensive side of the ball, because the more they talk about is more about the offensive side of the football, which of course the offensive side of the football, literally I can understand we haven't really had games where we can score big amount of points. But if you've seen the interviews that Drake May had talked about and some of his teammates, he talked about like what the scoreboard says one thing, they still will go out there and play like a team. And that's what most sportscasters will not really talk about too much, is because they only see that, only their defense is carrying them, not the offense. But that's pretty much not true, because of course the offense has scored. If you've seen the regular season, the Patriots can't score points on on offense. But it's pretty much the playoffs have made us not score that many points because, of course, we had to take on a very good elite defensive team who was ranked number 1 in the NFL in defenses in the Houston Texans, and we still managed to find a way to beat them because the Houston Texans, of course, this is their 3rd straight year in a row they're in the playoffs, and they get bounced out once again in the divisional round. We managed to beat them, and then the Chargers, the Chargers would have been good, but we kind of already knew Justin Herbert's flaws where he can't really step up to the play in the playoffs when it matters most, right? So the Chargers were the Chargers. They're the same Chargers. No matter if they make the playoffs, they still haven't make a serious noise yet once they get to the playoffs. And then, of course, the Broncos were just like us. They were like either top 5, top 10 defensive team in the NFL, and we still managed to beat them regardless on their home turf. And of course, Drake May literally did what Tom Brady could do, which was go into Denver and win a playoff game, and that's what he did. And he did it in those conditions that came later on in the game after the game started as gloomy, little sunny, and then next thing you know, boom, there's the snowstorm coming in, right? But yeah, people in the sportscasting world and or anybody else in general are definitely sleeping on the Patriots defense, and I can understand. Seattle does have a good elite defense themselves. After that game against the LA Rams, my goodness, I was like, my goodness, are they gonna beat the LA Rams? Because I know Sam Darnold's weakness was the LA Rams, and of course Seattle literally made Matthew Stafford pay in the playoffs when it matters most. Respect to Matthew Stafford for winning league MVP, but my goodness, he did not have a good game in that NFC Championship game, and especially you're playing in front of a bunch of Seahawks fans in Lumen Field in Seattle, so that just makes the situation worse for Matthew Stafford, doesn't it, right? But yeah, when I saw that game start to finish when I had this crazy snowstorm in New England, and let me tell you, I was like so surprised how well of the defense Seattle had played against the LA Rams. I knew those two teams had one win each on each other before going into that NFC Championship game in the playoffs, but my goodness, the Seattle Seahawks literally were messing with that Rams offense in the biggest way. And I can understand why people will go for the Seattle Seahawks as their ultimate choice to win this year's Super Bowl. But people are sleeping on the Patriots because the Patriots have beaten teams who have very good defenses. And then, like I said about Seattle, anything can happen because, like I said, the Houston Texans had the number 1 best defense in the NFL, and we still beat them. We still beat them when it matters most. That's the biggest thing. And of course, I understand defense can win championships, but the offense can also have a say. If either one of the offense of the Seattle Seahawks, when it comes to Sam Darnold and his crew and Drake May and his crew, if these guys get cooking and they start throwing bombs downfield, making haymakers, it'll be crazy to watch, right? It'll be super crazy to watch, and knowing the New England Patriots, they're definitely prepping extra hard just to get to Seattle, and Seattle is doing the same thing to New England because it's going to lead to my third point, which is this is a revenge game for the Seattle Seahawks. And the reason why I say this is a revenge game for the Seahawks is what happened back in 2014's NFL season going into 2015 when Russell Wilson and the Seattle Seahawks, Super Bowl 49. Pete Carroll was your head coach at the time. Man, I'm rhyming accidentally out here. And we all remember, if you're a diehard football fan, you will literally remember that Super Bowl pretty well when it was Russell Wilson, quarterback of the Seahawks, versus Tom Brady, quarterback of the New England Patriots. And we all saw the results of that game where the Seahawks offensive line was on the 1-yard line, and then next thing you know, instead of giving it to beast mode Marshawn Lynch, Wilson ended up choking it by throwing the ball into the air that led into the hands of back then rookie cornerback Malcolm Butler. Malcolm Butler literally won us the game in Super Bowl 49 in Glendale, Arizona, because I remember that Super Bowl pretty well, you know, and that helped us win the game. Imagine how much that could have haunted the Seattle Seahawks organization as a whole the past 11 years, 12 years almost officially. After that, that was the Seahawks' very last Super Bowl, and ever since then, you could have gotten back there since, right? So for them to be finally get back here after all these years is literally the biggest opportunity that the Seattle Seahawks has ever had. Although that they know Sam Darnold, this is going to be Sam Darnold's first Super Bowl, just like Drake May, because Drake May, of course, is in his second year compared to Sam Darnold, who's already been playing in his 8th year in this league and literally had literally Sam Darnold has went through a lot of turmoil with the New York Jets, the team that he got drafted to. Then he got traded to Carolina in that short stint that he had in Carolina to the Panthers. And then he played that 1 year as a backup for the 49ers. And of course, he ended up in Minnesota last season. That ultimately let him out the door. Man, if anybody's Viking fan in this video, I can understand the frustration now when it comes to having a good quarterback and all of a sudden you let him walk out the door and then relying on a young quarterback in JJ McCarthy. No offense, I hope he has a good career, but JJ McCarthy hasn't even thrown an NFL snap and they just throw him out into the wolves like if it was nothing. And the fact that Sam Darnold's in the Super Bowl and Minnesota ain't, that has to sting, that has to hurt, that has to piss you off, it has to frustrate you and all that stuff. It's just crazy, right? Just super crazy. And now Sam Darnold literally helped this team in his first year in his 3-year deal with the Seattle Seahawks, literally leading his team along with the help of the defense, of course, to the Super Bowl. And of course, Sam Darnold is definitely playing at a pretty good level and literally shut his critics down. I was even a critic myself on Sam Darnold because I was like, I don't think Sam Darnold could do it when it matters most in the playoffs. But man, he proved me wrong on that one, and look where he is now in the Super Bowl against my team, the New England Patriots. Anything can still happen, right? Because one of the other hopes for Seahawk fans, oh my goodness, I can't speak today. Hopefully for Seahawk fans are praying that Sam Darnold can win this Super Bowl this Sunday because they want this revenge game so bad against the Patriots because the Patriots had beaten them when we still had the great Tom Brady still playing in Super Bowl 49. That's why I feel like this game is going to be a revenge game because they got the offensive pieces, the offensive firepower, as well as the defensive players that they can play very good defense when it matters most. And of course, we don't have that advantage because of course we're playing in Santa Clara, California. But you know, I'm not going to give up on my Patriots because I always have faith. And I know Seahawk fans has that faith as well. But yeah, if Sam Darnold can achieve that goal this weekend, then the revenge game for the Seahawks organization as a whole will definitely be completed if they pull it off. So that's my opinion on that front when it comes to Seattle Seahawks. But what about the New England Patriots? The next opinion. The New England Patriots are hoping to win number 7. Now, if the New England Patriots win number 7, they'll be the number 1 franchise, officially the number 1 franchise in NFL history to have more Super Bowls than any other franchise in the NFL. Right now, they're currently tied with the Pittsburgh Steelers for 6 Super Bowls all time. All time, think of that. And I know Steeler fans out there are going to be praying for our downfall this weekend. And if we win the Super Bowl this weekend, it will be the first one in the new era with Mike Vrabel / Drake May. And then will also be our 7th Super Bowl in franchise history. And we'll be the number 1 team all time with more Super Bowls than any other team. People are definitely going to be praying for the Seahawks to not let that happen for us to win number 7. Because imagine winning your 7th Super Bowl, a first-year head coach, first-year coaching staff, and a second-year quarterback. Oh my goodness, that would have been brutal. We could have almost saw something similar. I almost want to say something similar with Joe Burrow in Cincinnati, but no. Zach Taylor was already there for like a couple of seasons now, so now that doesn't really count. But when it comes to second-year quarterback, though, I think Drake May will do something that Joe Burrow couldn't do, is to win a Super Bowl, if possible, right? And because that Super Bowl was in Los Angeles a couple of years ago. So yeah, that's one way you can see it. Just like I said about Seattle, the Patriots also have as well. We have some defensive hitters ourselves. They've been playing hardcore ball, of course, led by Terrell Williams, Christian Barmore, Christian Gonzalez. I'm trying to think of the other guy. Tonga, Marcus Jones, and all these boys. Carlton Davis III. Like, we have some pretty good hitters on defense. We literally have some pretty good hitters on defense. So that's why if we win Super Bowl number 7 with new additions to the team, first year coaching staff, second year quarterback in Drake May, that's going to be like the biggest story, Cinderella story. And I would not want to hear any sportcasters criticism to the Patriots if we end up winning. That leads to my next thought. If the Patriots win the Super Bowl, it will shut down the critics because every single sportscaster in the sports media world are literally doubting the New England Patriots hardcore. I'm talking about personalities like Cam Newton and the Stephen A. Smiths and many others out there that's definitely criticizing the Patriots, because I know there's others that I saw in the sports media world world that are criticizing the Patriots heavily. And I mean heavily, they're criticizing them to lose. But what happens if the Patriots win this weekend? Where they're going to be at on Monday when they go on their show? Like, where are they going to be at on Monday? They're going to be silent. They got nothing to say. They're going to be apologizing and say, you know what? We were wrong about the Patriots, because that's what the sports media does. The sports media did this exact same thing in the Patriot dynasty with Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. They even doubted us then, and we still won championships. And they're doing it again with Drake May and Mike Vrabel, man. They can't give us respect. They cannot give us the respect. And if we win this weekend, then we're going to shut them all up and say, you know what? Shut you know what's up, because we won a Super Bowl and you've been raving about our opponents so heavily and you're not giving us credit. Not like myself. I actually give Seattle credit for how they built their team and how they played this year in the regular season and how they played in the playoffs. Just like my Patriots. Not these mainstream guys. Nope. These mainstream guys don't give the Patriots enough credit. They give most credit to Seattle than they do to the Patriots. I hope that we can prove them wrong. I really, really do. Now, the second to last part, what about the QBs, Sam Darnold and Drake May? How much pressure will these two quarterbacks will be in? Only time will tell when the game starts on Sunday, because remember, both of these guys are playing in the Super Bowl for the very first time in their NFL careers. Drake May, like I said, he's just into his second year as a quarterback in the National Football League, while Sam Darnold has already been in his 8th year. And like I mentioned earlier in the video, Sam Darnold has went through a bunch of turmoil. I mean, he was drafted by the New York Jets organization. We know how terrible decision makings they have been doing for so many years now. But good thing he got out of there from a trade that ended up going to Carolina, and then of course becoming a backup for the 49ers and a backup to Minnesota, which of course he ended up becoming a starter anyways. And now he's here in Seattle, where literally Sam Darnold went from a guy that definitely showed promise, because I knew he had promise. The first time I saw him on draft night, I was like, oh yeah, this kid is going to be something. I don't think he will be an elite quarterback, but I knew he would be good enough to hold on to his own, because he does have that talent. It's not elite talent, but he does have that talent, and he proved it this season with the Seattle Seahawks. And my goodness, the Jets fumbled him in the worst way imaginable. Early on in his career, Sam Darnold, we all saw that he was injury prone earlier on, but now he definitely reinvented himself, and look where he is now. He knows that he's going to be playing on the biggest stage when the lights are brightest, just like Drake May. Drake May, he's already ahead of schedule. As a Patriots fan, he's already ahead of schedule of being a young quarterback that we could actually be relying upon to become the next franchise quarterback of the New England Patriots. And he can literally be Tom Brady's successor, because the last 5 to 6 years or so, we went through a bunch of quarterbacks, right? We went through Cam Newton, we went through Mac Jones, we went through Brian Hoyer, we went through Bailey Zappi, we went through Jacoby Brissett, we went through so many guys, and now Drake May, right? We went through so many guys as quarterbacks, and the only 2 quarterbacks that actually took us to the playoffs was a rookie Mac Jones and a second-year quarterback in Drake May. Imagine how crazy for us as Patriot fans, not just here in New England, but everywhere else in the United States and the world. Imagine that suffering we have those last couple of years after Tom Brady left and walked out the door, if you already knew that turmoil that he had between him and Bill, back when Bill was still playing head coach / GM. That's what the University of North Carolina is giving him. Literally, we went through so much stress watching Patriot games. We went through so much turmoil, and then when Robert Kraft finally pulled the trigger and made the most difficult decision of his life, it's crazy how much it changed, complete 360 with a snap of our fingers. And now look where we are now. Mike Vrabel as our new head coach, a new head coaching staff. Drake May has played way more better in his second year compared to how he played last year, although he did have a different coaching staff, which was the Mayo coaching staff. It didn't really change nothing, or it did huge change actually, not nothing. It was nothing compared to how he was going to have with Josh McDaniels, because Josh McDaniels knows how to work with quarterbacks. So you already know he's definitely going to be feeling the pressure, just like Sam Darnold, even though Sam Darnold has a little bit more experience than Drake May. But I can definitely say talent-wise, these two are going to definitely go at it. Like, because Sam Darnold is still relatively a young guy per se, but not like super young like Drake May, who is only 23 years old. Remember the last quarterback that won a Super Bowl for the Patriots at 23 years old? If you guessed Tom Brady, you're absolutely right. Tom Brady was the last Patriot quarterback to win a Super Bowl at age 23. Can you imagine Drake May's going to do the same thing? If he managed to win a playoff game in Denver, and if he wins the Super Bowl this weekend, imagine that. 23-year-old quarterbacks is the way to go, it looks like. Who knows, right? So now we get to the point at the end of this video. My final prediction of who is going to win the Super Bowl. Like I mentioned, both teams have an offense. Both teams have defenses that are pretty elite. And I believe one point in time when I checked it, I think Seattle and New England Patriots were right there in the top 10 when it comes to defensives, I believe. I might have to double check on my own on that again, but I can tell these two are going to be heavy juggernauts and heavy hitters when the lights are brightest, because they do say when you play in the Super Bowl, the lights are brighter than any other game in your NFL career. That's why I learned that in sports, anything can happen, man. Anything can happen in sports. But you already know, that's my final prediction of who's going to win this Super Bowl. I got to go with my New England Patriots because, one, what I mentioned in this video of offense and defense, I can understand we haven't really scored that well in the playoffs. But what we have is that not many people don't realize is that we have heart. And we played with heart this whole season because, to be honest, I did not expect the Patriots to go to the Super Bowl. I did not expect us to go in our first year with this staff. I thought we had 2 or 3 more years down the road. But the fact that we made it on our first year, we have to take it into our advantage. And then, of course, 2, like the Patriots have went through hard-hitting teams, like I said. They went through hard-hitting teams, and Seattle won't be any different when the lights is brightest. And 3, we may end up destroying their Super Bowl dreams and ruining their revenge game in the process. That could be a possibility. It's a big-time possibility because, of course, the number 4 is that we haven't seen both of these quarterbacks play, and the majority of these players who are in the Super Bowl for the first time in their careers, and they do have a couple that has Super Bowl experiences, but we don't know what they're going to look like when they play on the brightest lights in Levi's Stadium. But I got to go with my New England Patriots. You know me. I'm a diehard Patriots fan. I have been since I was 11 years of age. I'm not giving up on my team any other day. Even when my friends told me, who do you have winning this game between the Patriots or another team? I always choose the Patriots because the Patriots is my diehard team. I can never go against them, especially in the Super Bowl. I cannot do it. If we lose, we lose. I will handle it. I saw 3 Super Bowls in my lifetime that we did lose in close games. And speaking of close games, what is my final score is going to look like? I think it's going to be hard hitting, and I think it's going to be close. I don't think it's going to be no blowouts. I think it's going to be a close game. I feel like it's going to be 38-37 as my final score. I think it's going to come down to a 1-point game. I think it's going to come down to a thriller 1-point game. That's where I feel like the Patriots winning 38-37. That's my prediction on them. And like I said, I have respect for Seattle, man. I really do. But I can't choose them, man, because my love for the Patriots is so much, you know. It's super much. So I hope you guys enjoyed this predictions video. Let me know in the comic sections down below what your thoughts are on both of these teams, and who do you guys have winning the Super Bowl this Sunday? Is it the Seattle Seahawks or the New England Patriots, and what would their final scores would be? So let me know in the comics down below. Don't forget to subscribe, or more like hit the thumbs up like button so you can stay up to date with all of my latest review videos. Well, you can also subscribe too if you want as well. Before you click off of this video, click here to watch my Monsterverse video, and click here to watch my Avengers Endgame video. It's your boy Big Iz, and I'll see you guys in the next one.